Oak Ridge, and I just have the best job in the whole world. But I'm thrilled to have a little bit of time to be with you here today as well. There's one more dignitary that I would like to acknowledge who came just after I spoke last, and that is Councillor Steve Lehman, who I don't know, sorry, there he is. There's Steve. Okay. I will call now on Minister Rob Flack, who is the MPP for Elgin, Middlesex, London, and he will introduce for us Minister Calandra, and then we will sit and have a bit of a fireside chat. Are you okay with that, Minister? All right.
Well, thank you, Beth. Great to be here. Great to see such a great turnout. How many years? Where's Zach? Zach's back there. How many years has the Macdonald Cartier Club been going in London now?
Long time.
Zach, be a little more prescriptive.
I've probably been involved for about a decade. So I used to say I was 34 years.
Yeah, so a long time. Anyways, so thanks for coming out. What happened a year ago today?
Majority government.
Third consecutive majority government by Doug Ford. And the great news is I think, as he likes to say, Paul, he likes to say, increased our plurality 3 times in a row. So a great historic day for sure. Great to see so many of my colleagues here. Beth, did you introduce all the politicians in the room?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry we were a little late. We were at Regina Mundi taking a good look at Mr. Twinster, sir. Good to see you. Peter. Haven't seen you well. Saw your son last week. I wanted to start off by recognizing Joe Preston. As everybody knows, he has announced, sadly, understandably, that he's not running again to be Mayor of St. Thomas. I think probably will go down as the greatest Mayor of St. Thomas ever in terms of helping develop our economy. He's a colleague and a friend, and we're going to miss him. And now you can be a retired mayor just like your buddy beside you there, the Honorable Ed Holder. So well done, Joe. I met Paul in 2022 when I got elected, and he was the government house leader, and I met him in that big office. You had that conquistador, or whatever you call it. Do you still have that painting in your office? You do. Good for you. And so what are the first impressions when you meet Paul Calandra? For me, at least. Competent, been around, knows what he's doing. Experienced, go hand in hand. No kind of BS kind of guy, like gets right to the point, and very focused. And I can say our first conversations were collegial, but then when you really saw him in action, it was when he got into the House. Have you ever watched him in the House? Now, I know Betty Crockett watches it faithfully, my father does. But if you watch Paul in the House, especially when he was government house leader, he took no prisoners, and I called him the gladiator. It was not a warrior, but no one liked to take him on, and it was apparent. So a partisan, yes, but focused on getting the job done. He was the MP, and I've got this right, I think, Oak Ridge's Markham, from 2008 to 2015, until we had a little hiccup nationally, and we elected probably the worst government we ever have had in the previous 10 years under Mr. Trudeau. But Paul took his energy and his talents and moved to the provincial arena. Like other colleagues in our caucus, was Parm Gill, Greg Rickford, yourself, and was there another one or not? I think you were the 3 federal MPs that jumped over and moved into the provincial arena, and now represents Markham Stouffville and has won, obviously, the last 3 elections in a row. To say he's been a rising star in government is the understatement. He started off in government and quickly was made government house leader and minister, I think, of legislative affairs. And then as time moved on, he stayed in the House, leading that, and also became Minister of Long-Term Care, a very, very important ministry, as I think we all know and understand. He might say that he thinks I should be living in long-term care, but really not. And then our paths kind of crossed then. As we had a few issues in municipal affairs and housing, and he's Mr. Fixer, so the Premier asked him to take on that ministry. And that's when I became his Associate Minister of Housing, and learned a lot from him, worked closely with him. And then we had this little election, and we're celebrating today, our anniversary, and I think we were both surprised about 4 weeks from now when the Premier called us and told us what he wanted us to do. My line always was, he says, "I've got an important assignment for you, should you choose to accept it." That's kind of when I knew I was going to be the Minister of Agriculture, and I took on Municipal Affairs and Housing after Paul's great work. And Paul was asked to be the Minister of Education, which I think, I'm not sure, when they elect a Pope, they call it the crying room. They take the Pope in, and he has to get his vestments on. Who's playing the music here? It's lovely. Anyways, I think Paul, you and I got to go to the crying room a little bit there to prepare for new ministries, but all very good. Anyways, then he was given this assignment of education, and I spent the morning with him, and he's come right up to speed. You know, it's not often what you want in life, it's sometimes what you get, and he's been given a tough assignment and a tough ministry that needs obviously serious reforms, and he has taken that on with vim and vigor, and is going to do a great job, is doing a great job, with more to come. So, folks, I believe in Markham, but you live in Stouffville, right? Stouffville, his wife Melanie, and I think many have met Melanie that are involved in the party. She's the director of PC Ontario, our party. Is doing a great job. They've got 2 daughters. So please give a great Macdonald Cartier welcome to the Honourable Paul Calandra, my friend.
This should pick up, and if not, then we'll grab it.
Okay,
Auxiliary, okay?
So I'm going to leave this here.
Let's see how we go. Yeah, leave that for me.
Organize myself.
Okay. Thank you. Are we good for sound on that? Yep. Thank you, Minister Flack, for that introduction. He texted me and said, "I'm going to speak for about 30 minutes. Is that okay?" And I said, "Oh, at least 30." So, and something that he said to me that I hadn't planned to mention, but the first time I sat in the members' gallery was one of the times when MPP Flack was speaking, and Minister Calandra was doing just what Minister Flack said. He was being the House Leader, and he was killing the clock. And he was talking for a, can you hear, is the sound okay? It's not. Okay, well, let's go old school, Minister. You and I are old enough to remember how to use these. I'll give you that one. I'll take this one. That was, whoa, there we go. See, we're good.
Your teacher's voice.
I'll use my teacher voice. That was the first time that I heard Minister Calandra speak in the House, and my first thought was, this guy should have been an English teacher, because it was just amazing to hear him just so eloquently speak in the House and talk about the issues. So I'm not worried that he's not going to fill the time, is what I'm saying. But let's see how many of my questions that we can get through. So, Minister, thank you again for coming. I really appreciate it. We all do. And I want to start by talking a little bit from my experience about what school is like and your role in that. And so, as someone, I'm in my 29th year as an educator. I've been a principal for 10 years. I love the work. I've worked in 3 different school boards in Ontario, and I can tell you that kids are the same everywhere. They just need to be loved and taught to learn, and pretty much more or less they're the same. But some of the things that I have found in this government that have brought forward that have been really meaningful, and I always tell people this because if you're not in the schools, you may not know, but there are a few things. And the first one is something called the science of reading and the Back to Basics curriculum. And what that has done for kids is, I can tell you, Minister, there are more children who are learning to read now than there were 10 years ago. I see it every day. It's the right to read is one of the other ways to talk about it. We have children using Lexia, which we'll see a little bit later today, and there are tier 1, 2, and 3 measures that are used to help kids who are not reading. But we've come from something called whole language learning, which just was not phonics-based. And we've come back to science. It comes out of Sick Kids Hospital, so that's been amazing. The legislation that has taken cell phones out of classrooms has been very impactful for me personally and for all the children that I take care of. We have something now recently that requires 2 weeks' notice for parents to have a guest speaker to come in. And you may not know about this, but it's an important thing because it recognizes that parents have a right to know what their children are learning about. And so that is a measure that came in about 18 months ago that we have, that we use. Yes, thank you. It's a big deal. And I'm speaking from the front lines here. And then, of course, in 2022, for the first time in a very long time, all of the contracts were ratified with no disputes, which kept all of our educators in the buildings. There were no strikes, there were no work to rules. That was a very, very impactful thing. So I could go on. I have actually a bunch more stuff, but let's go. So I'm telling you some of the things that have just happened. My first question for you is, what are you excited about for the future of education in Ontario, short-term or long-term?
I'll say this. I'm excited about a lot, to be honest with you, and it's because I think we're at a time right now where people have an expectation that the system should be able to move quicker than it does. And everybody seems to be of the same mindset. So when I go into schools, I'm talking to a lot to teachers, and what I'm hearing from teachers is a willingness to get things done in a way that they have not been able to do so before. So I hear it from teachers, I hear it from principals. Sometimes I don't, though, hear it from the people who administer things at the board. They sometimes have a different sensation. So what am I looking forward to? Look, when I look at our results, math results, very disappointing, right? So I know we have to do something about that. Literacy, we are doing really well. We're doing well, but there is more work that needs to be done, right? We're doing well based on what measurements, right? So that is why we're taking a look at how we are measuring. But for me, what am I excited about? Look, there's no secret that we are looking at how we govern the system. There's no secret that we're looking at fundamental governance reform. We're looking at how we can deliver things faster, how we can make the system more concise. All the time I get this, every single teacher I've talked to, well, not every, but vast majority, have said, Minister, like, the best thing you can do for me is let me teach, let a parent parent, give me what I need, and I will give these kids every ability to succeed. But get out of my way and support me, and I will get out of parents' way. But you have to bring back a system of respect, responsibility, and support. And if you do that, I will give you the absolute best educated kids. And that is what we're going to do. And that is what really, really excites me, because I think educators are on the same page. I think parents are on the same page. And finally, you have a government that has made some real good reforms, as you're talking about, but now has to finish the work. It's going to be tough work, but that's what excites me about where we can go. A $43 billion ministry should be able to provide the absolute best level of education, bar none, and we will. And we'll hold people accountable for that.
I told you it was good. Thank you, Minister. Thank you. I'm going to jump to a question that I have about, and you kind of touched on this, about doing what's best for students and parents. And you've talked a little bit about the feedback that you have gotten from teachers. What are you hearing from parents in the province? What do parents want more of? What are they happy about? Hopefully you get some happy comments as well. Mm-hmm. Those are sometimes fewer and farther between. But what are they happy about? What are they saying to you when you talk to parents?
Yeah, look, it's always going to be different from parents. I said, as I said, respect, responsibility, and support, right? But it goes both ways, right? You obviously have a lot of gray hair, so you'll know that, and maybe many of you were the same. I never went home. When I was a kid, I never went home and said, oh, the teacher doesn't like me, the teacher is this or that, because my parents would hear none of it. My job was to respect a teacher when I went to school, to sit there, listen, and do what I was supposed to do for those hours of the day. And my parents respected the teacher's authority as well and supported the teacher. That isn't always the case now. But I don't blame parents for that. I blame governments, again, that have allowed a system to change to an extent that puts teachers in the way of parents and forces conflict within the system, right? So I'm trying to remove that from it. So I hear from parents all the time, I said, it's just give my kid the ability to succeed. That's it. I will parent, but when they go to school, let them learn let them be the best that they can be, give them an opportunity to succeed, and let it be in a safe environment. And if you can do that, then the system will be better. So what are parents liking? I hear a lot from parents, they really like the focus on the back to basics. Obviously, they're starting to see their kids, so they do like that. But you know, back to basics, everybody talks about back to basics, and it's now becoming a bit overdone, I think, and not overdone in implementation, but parents are just like, all right, stop talking about it and just give me back to basics. Phonics is working, and now do something about math. They like the return of the skilled trades in the schools, right? They really like the opportunity to have their kids, whether they want to take it up as a career or not. A lot of parents are saying that avenue is a wonderful avenue for them. So I'm hearing a lot about that from parents. And I acknowledge a lot of parents who are concerned about safety in the schools. And we have to do a much, much better job. We've all heard, my own daughter, I mean, you talk about cell phones. I tell this all the time. I told it at a news conference, I shouldn't have, but I'm Minister of Education. My daughter's in grade 12, and she will call me from a class to get an answer to a question, right? And I've said to her, what are you doing calling me right now? I'm actually the minister, you can't do this. She said, I just need this quick answer. Can you just give me the quick answer, right? And, you know, sometimes teachers don't feel supported by their administration or by the government if they make a tough decision. And we have to assume some of that responsibility now. So a lot of parents are saying to me, you got to go the extra step. So I'm taking a look at it, right? What's the extra step? How do I make schools safer? There's some more that's coming. It's not just about police officers in schools. It's not just about that. There's more to it than that. So some things are coming, which I think will help. And, you know, be honest, I am really, really, really looking at see, there you go. Like, it's a great song, by the way, whoever sung it. The timing couldn't have been worse. Bad to the bone and but do we need to have school phones in the school at all?
No.
Right? And so I'm looking at other jurisdictions that have completely banned it from the grounds entirely, and what has been the results. And it is hard to argue what we're starting to see in those jurisdictions, right? So I'm taking a look at additional measures because parents are asking me to do it, and by and large teachers are asking me the same thing, and they just want to be supported. If they're making a tough decision that I'm giving them, then they have to be supported. And no, that's the last thing I'll say is that my wife, those of you who know my wife and you know, I will catch her texting a teacher at 10 o'clock at night. And I'll ask her, what are you doing? She said, I just have this one quick question about a mark that my daughter Olivia or Natalie would have got. I said, it's 10 o'clock at night. Could you leave these people alone? Nobody does this. And the teacher will respond, right? I don't know, maybe because it's me, but whatever. The teacher, but you know it's not just because it's me. People have such access, and maybe they should, but parents also have to remember that they also have a role in safe schools. It's not just about teachers, it is also about parents' responsibility for telling their kids, you do not make trouble in a washroom. You respect the teacher, and this is a standard of behavior that I as a parent expect from my kids, and this is a standard that parents should expect of theirs. It has to be a partnership, and that is what we are going to rebuild in the school, a partnership of respect, responsibility, and support that puts parents, students, and teachers on the same page. And as long as we can build that back, I think we'll have a system that we all probably grew up in, and one that gives us a better product when we're done.
Thanks, Minister. It's interesting because safe schools and cell phones, there's a real dovetail there on the ground, because exactly what you're talking about, one of the reasons that we have to, and I will be honest, it's easier in K to 8 than it is in 9 to 12. And so I'm kind of strict about that, but I'm in a position of privilege there. But it's the cell phones. It's not, we don't care that much that you're texting your dad for an answer. It's when the cell phones are in the bathroom or in the change rooms, and now it's on Snapchat, and now it's a really big deal. And that's where it goes very, very quickly from texting dad to the police are at the school. So, and criminal charges sometimes come. So it's really hard, and it's emergent, right? And I mean, I sometimes say we can't prepare kids for the world that we come from, but at the same time, there are those standards that we upheld that, as you're saying, that are really important. So, thank you. So you talked a little bit about when you were a kid. Do you remember yourself a favorite teacher? And what can you tell me about someone who made a difference for you as a teacher and why?
Yeah, I remember almost every teacher I had, to be honest with you. I remember every elementary teacher I do remember. And each of them had a different, I'd say my grade 3 teacher, Mrs. Dix, man, she was really, really, really tough. A very, very, very tough teacher. She really expected a lot from all of us, and at the time you don't like it. But man, the difference that she made was stunning. I remember the toughest ones, to be honest with you. Mr. Tamburo in grade 6, man, he just would not accept anything other than your best. This is a teacher who had an ulcer because of us. And you could see, I remember to this day, I remember him at the board doing things, and you could see the pain in his face but he kept going. Not just from me, but I remember Mr. Moore, my grade 8 teacher, when I was trying to decide, what would I do in high school, and at the time we had, basic, general, and advanced. I said, well, what should I take? And him just saying to me, like, very forcefully, what are you talking about? You go right into advanced and you do your thing. Like, what's wrong with you? And being very firm in the schoolyard, right? But the things that they taught. So I remember the tough ones because they changed how you felt. But in between, it was also good to have the ones who would build you back. It's not that the tough ones didn't build you up, because they expected a lot, they built you up. But then there was others who had other focuses. So every elementary teacher, even Mrs. Walker, who had to teach me how to speak English, my kindergarten teacher, not a job of a kindergarten teacher to teach a kid how to speak English, but I remember her. She did a great job. And then a number of Mr. Jansen, Renee Jansen, who is the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association president, union leader. He was one of my teachers at Pope John Paul High School. So go figure. So he and I now sit across the table and hopefully work together. So every one of them had a role. I never had a bad one. I'm sure maybe people have. I've never actually had a bad one. I would still count a lot of them as friends on Instagram, and I get a lot of advice from a lot of them still. So. Did
you ever visit the principal's office?
So yeah, I was in a lot, to be honest. So, not for bad things. I'm just a stupid kid. Never in elementary school, but in high school, I went to Pope John Paul. And I literally could not stand the uniform pants. So I had convinced Mr. Howard, I didn't convince him, he knew I was lying, that I was allergic to polyester pants. And I couldn't wear the school uniform pant. I had to have a pleated pant that I bought at the store. And so he just would not go for it. So every day I'd have to go to Mrs. Bauer, and she was at the front office. She was in charge of uniform discipline. So I literally every day I would be there, and I would get a 15-minute detention for wearing non-uniform pants because they were just really skin tight. The boys' pants back in the 80s were very, very skin tight, and I felt a little self-conscious wearing such a skin tight. Not like.
Thinking back, just one more question about when you were in school, and I apologize if I'm overstepping, but what do you think is different to when you were in school, but what is also the same? Like, I always say kids are the same everywhere, and my philosophy of education is you show up and you love the kids, and everything comes from that. And I don't think teachers 50 years ago loved kids less or more than they do today, but what do you think is the same from when we were kids and now?
It's a tough one. I mean, it's just, I'm sure there's a lot that's the same. Unfortunately, many of the buildings are the same as when I was going there, so we got to do something about that. Look, I mean, what's the same? I'm hoping that within 5 years, nothing is the same, to be honest with you. But look, is it the same? Are teachers working as hard as they did at my time? Yeah, absolutely, I think so. Is there a level of passion that you just don't expect? As Minister of Education, sometimes, when I wasn't Minister of Education, you're a parent, you have a much different outlook because you're only dealing with certain teachers, right? As Minister of Education, I get to go into all these classrooms, talk to teachers, and not just teachers, I should say educators, because it's EAs, it's the maintenance. They all are focused on a way that is very, very, it makes you very happy, to be honest with you, and then you realize, okay, you got to do something better. But I'll say that the differences that I do see, I want to just go back to differences. It's how, and this is boards and government again. What have we put in the way? We have to take out. Making it, that respect has to come back. And some of the things that we used to do, you know, we're going to bring back a report card in paper form as well as online. Because too many people don't know how to download a report card. So many parents have told me, I have no idea how to download my kid's report card because I got to put in 5 different passwords into 3 different systems to get to my report card. And not necessarily in your board.
No,
but
that's another thing that we need to standardize, because that's not every board.
Things.
Yeah.
So the things that are different are what causes stress. And the things that remain the same is people's desire to give their kids the best opportunity to succeed. I've not come across anybody so far that has said, I give up and I don't want to do it. They're just saying the same thing over and over and over. Give us the tools that we need and we will give you the best. And I think that is what we have to focus on.
Staying on report cards, one thing that I know I hear a lot of teachers talk about, is, and I think as the principal, is why are we all writing different comments for the same strands every year for every report card? And the 2 grade 3 teachers might have completely different comments. It's the same curriculum, it's the same strands. So I would love to see that, a little bit of standardization through that. It's a tough job and it's a complicated job, and you have the complicatedest maybe part of all of it. But changing gears a little bit, we heard that and we know that you were a federal MP before working provincially in the legislature. Well, how did that affect or help or set you up to do what you're doing now? How did that shape how you do this role?
I would say it didn't at all, to be honest. There's the 2 levels are so different. And there really truly is no. I do get this question a lot. You know, so they're just so different. The 2 roles. I'll say this. This is what I learned federally. I won my first election by 500 votes. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and a riding this, everybody say, oh, you're not going to win, but maybe the next time. And it was like 2 in the morning, and I won by 500 votes. It was like amazing. I just felt really good about it. We then are immediately thrust into a crisis that the government is going to fall. It was the economic crisis. And I thought, oh my gosh, I literally just got sworn in. We're going to go to an election. I'm going to lose. I will be the shortest tenured member in the history of Parliament. But I'll never forget that it was Prime Minister Harper. He had us had new members at his house. And he had known that I had won by such a small amount. And he sat me down and said, you won by a really, really, really small margin. I said, thanks for, thanks for reminding me, sir. And he looked at me, he's got these eyes, and he looks at, like the eyes, when you get the stare, like the members there, you get this stare from him, and he looks at you, he says, you have 1 of 2 options. He says, you could be the guy that is so worried about 542 votes that accomplishes nothing, or you can be the guy that no matter how long you're sitting here, will do something that you will know forever that you accomplished, and if they throw you out in 10 days, if they throw you out in 2 years, you still will have accomplished something. He said to me, for me, be the guy that accomplishes something, and you will never regret your time here no matter how long. So go be that person, and you will never regret your time here no matter how long. And that's honestly when then I started to learn, okay, put your head down, start to listen, learn from people who had actually been there before, from Joe, and then I sat next to Mike. And one of the things I miss the most, if you honest with people ask me what I miss the most, I miss Wednesday mornings sitting beside Mike Wallace and coffee. I really do. I used to love that 3 hours when you get all together and everybody's equal in the room and you have this opportunity. So I miss that the most, but I learned to work hard as a politician in Ottawa, and you really get tested at Queen's Park on that almost every day.
Well, I've seen that in action. I think Betty and I might be the only two people in the room who watch some mornings, but a few others do, and Minister Flack's dad is watching along with us. We have a little bit of time to take a couple of questions from the floor. So we will, I'll stand. Just stay. I know I see
I have an easy one.
the Honorable Mike Wallace.
I'm not that honorable.
You're not that honorable.
So Paul, you've been privileged to be elected both federally and provincially. I want you to take your minister's hat off and tell me what, and I think for most people, everybody doesn't understand the job till you get it. What do you like most about being a member of parliament, and what do you like the least?
I love everything about being a member. You know what I like most? It's the stuff that you actually accomplish, and nobody will ever know, right? I live like 2 minutes away from the Rouge National Urban Park, right? Nobody will ever know the misery and the fight that went into building the Rouge National Urban Park and protecting farmers as part of a national park. Nobody, my kids, I'm like literally next door to it. And my kids will never know what went into doing that. But man, just like some immigrant kid was able to sit in a government caucus next to a prime minister shaping a community, like that's, like it's huge. Like I know nobody will ever remember the things that you did. And then I will often run into, I shop at Walmart, I will often run into people who will have my office, not me in a lot of instances, the people who work for me, will have done something for them, and they will still remember what your office had done for them. And man, you can't, like there's so few jobs where you get that at you. What do I dislike? You know, I'll say this plain out. When something goes wrong, your kids take the brunt of your mistakes, and that is the word. And people are vicious, and I don't shy away from this. People are vicious on your kids in a way that they don't have the guts to be in front of you. And that is the part I hate most. I always say, if you have something to say to my kid, you can come and say it to me, because I can give you an answer. So that's the part I hate the most.
Thanks. I think I saw Nathan Caranci just over here. I'm going to start going here.
Mr. Calandra, thanks so much for your time today. To the extent that I have a question for you, it would be in relation to education as it pertains to immigration policy in Canada. I think you were part of a government that likely had the best immigration policy of quite some time, and it was systematically destroyed by the previous federal government, and a lot of things have been dealt with by the provinces across the country, especially here in Ontario. One of the things I'm privileged to do is be a football coach at one of the high schools here in London. And some of the issues and challenges, and perhaps some of the resentment associated with it with some of this young generation, is unlike something I was expecting to see going into this coaching role. But we hear so much about maybe kids these days not being willing to do the tough jobs and things like that. But I often challenge that assumption that maybe they're up against some things that my parents' generation and even myself were not up against when I was their age. And I wonder to what extent the skills gap between what kids are learning in school can be addressed to be able to fill the jobs that we have now, that we don't need to excuse bad immigration policy by saying, well, we're just bringing people here to do jobs that other people won't do. How do we match the education system with what the jobs of the future and frankly the present are today?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I'll say this, bar none, the person with the most difficult job of dealing with the collapse in the immigration system and the proper execution of the immigration system is Minister Flack. You know, you're right, no Conservative ever, you know, let's be honest, no Conservative celebrates when they become the Education Minister. It's not something you go back in the room and say, woo, thank God. I love it now, and I would never change it then. But it is easy in comparison to what the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs has to accomplish, because honestly, without that role and without the municipal partners, then none of the rest of us can do any of our jobs, to be honest with you. So in the one hand, thank God I'm not Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. What you saw after COVID was, it's bad in a number of ways. So when we were in Ottawa, we increased immigration every single year. We never, people who are looked upon less favorably than they should be. So I'll just say that up front. Like, it's not just because I'm a kid of an India. I know exactly what everybody's thoughts are on this. We're a small country population-wise. We need more people, and we need people desperately, but it has to happen in a way that it works for the people who are coming here and for the community, that we can build it together. As far as changing the skill grade, this is the thing that happens, right? We were in that class today, Minister Flack and I at Regina Mundi, and you know, there's kids there. There's 11, 12 kids there. They're learning the trades. So Minister Lecce started this, really, the transition from looking at the skilled trades as something that you did to fill in a course, as opposed to something that led you to a path to a good job, and that you could do starting in high school. And we have to do more. We're in catch-up mode still on this. To be honest with you, Minister Lecce gets all of the credit on this, and the Premier. The Premier has been dogged on this. Like, this is, the Minister got to do it because the Premier was so focused in a way that is actually quite wonderful. And it is, you know, kids now, they're in their high school journey, are allowed to start their work towards their apprenticeships and have that as included as part of their course and graduation work, whereas before it was looked differently, right? And we got to continue, we got to hold on this, right? We got to hold on this path of explaining to people that work within the trades is the work that will continue to build this province, bar none. But we also have to look to other countries and say, we do still need people, but in a way that benefits them, and in a way that helps us build our province. So I think we can, I actually think we can do both, but it really bothers me because I do think that that previous government turned the very people that we need into the people that were being scapegoated for all of the troubles that we were having in a short period of time. And the results now we're trying to figure out, really, because people are looking to other places. And given what's the chaos that is south of the border, we should be attracting the best and the brightest from around the world to be right here. And I think that is going to be our goal going forward.
Okay, thank you. We, unfortunately, are a little bit tight on time, and we're going to invite Mayor Joe Preston up to thank the Minister. We have a couple of more very brief speakers after that. There's a sheet on your table about a young man named Alex. If you haven't had a look at it, go ahead and do that. He's going to speak to us for a few minutes. He's a wonderful young student. And Mayor Holder is going to speak to us for a couple of minutes as well, okay?
It's great to be in a room of friends. This is not at all like a classroom. I'm going to tell just a couple of quick. I spent most of my adult life trying to find teachers and apologized. Did not find them all. I could still show you the marks from Sister Valerie. But it was we are all a collective of what we learn. So I want to thank the Minister for being as forthright and as managerial as he is in looking at our education going forward. Minister Lecce before, thank the Premier for putting the right people in the right jobs to do it. But we're moving the education system by more than little bits at a time when it really needed to move in the chunks that it's currently moving. we've got to fix things like how is immigration handled in our school? How are the skilled trades handled in our school? How is just plain the fun of reading in our school? Minister, I want to thank the Premier for putting two of my friends, first of all, in the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. And I don't know, who's an ex-friend in case it's not you? As a mayor, I was very lucky to have your friends in the right positions sometimes in the provincial government. So, Paul, you mentioned what your time was like in Parliament. Mine was the same. We went there and made good friends and did great big things that we may never be remembered for, may not, but the country was better at the time. And when we left, it's like that old Boy Scout saying, we left the campground better than we found it. Boy, take a look at this ministerial group in this province of Ontario. Have you ever left this province in a better place than it was? Thank you for the hard work you're doing.
Now, I believe Mayor Holder has something to share with us.
I forgot you were next. What is it?
He's announcing his haircut.
Well, thanks very much, Beth, and Mr. Calandra, it's great to see you again. You know, here's a fun fact. We have 4 former members of Parliament in this room today. Mike Wallace, Joe Preston, Paul Calandra, and myself, all serving at the same time. Mike and Joe were elected a little bit before us, but did you know that if the 4 of us had been elected in 1993, and that was the total sum, we would have doubled the number of members of Parliament. So there you have. Ladies and gentlemen, I asked for a moment here to speak to you about something that's critically important to our city in London, and that is the Byron Springbank Veterans Monument. It is being built in Springbank Park, and because we had the tremendous support of all of City Council, all councillors voted to support the land acquisition, which if you imagine from North Centre Street is the access point at the end of that road to a little circle. And this was a 17-year-old idea from Padre Frank Mance, who wanted to honor all of our veterans, all Canadian forces who served from the Boer War to World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Afghanistan, and peacekeepers throughout all theaters of conflict since those early times. And we're doing that. We have a committee of some 22 members, of which Deputy Mayor Sean Lewis and I are proud to be part of. And we're at a stage with this now where the design is complete, where the land has been acquired through the city and the city has agreed to maintain it. And now we're in the process of building the monument so that it can be unveiled. Now, it is a monument that will serve all of London, but in particular the Byron region, because what we're doing is we have had remembrance services there on the Saturday before Remembrance Day every year. However, if you can imagine where the Legion is on Commissioners Road, we block the street. And God bless the entrepreneurs and business people that have been very gracious to us, but it has certainly impacted their business. More dramatically, when we do our march around, so we start at the Legion, and we walk around that triangle that is surrounded by the Bowler Road, Commissioners Road, and one other road, and we block the fire hall, and that's also where the public library is too. But we've had incidents where cars have come through and tried to go around our march past, and we've had some close calls. So with the support of the Byron Legion and legions right across the region, they have agreed to support us through their poppy funds. So for all of you who have worn a poppy and donated, a part of that has gone towards the building of the Byron Springbank Veterans Monument. And I share this with you because we're close. We will be unveiling it in the fall. To do that, though, we are just a little shy. We have raised 80% of the funds to date, which is spectacular. Our budget is about $450,000. We're $90,000 short, and we are putting appeals out to individuals and companies that if I could ask people like Mike Wallace to crack open his wallet, which he never does, by the way, but if he did, then what would happen is we have the potential to get there. And it doesn't matter how little or how much. Actually, it does, $90,000. So if you want to write that check today, I'll go home a happy person. But people have been great across this community and across Ontario. And there's an old friend of Conrad Black, Peter White, who sent me a note the other day, because I sent him a love note. Some of you have received it, and I've said we could use some help. And he said, tell me a little bit more about it. And he said, and what's a good amount to donate? Now, he's got a lot of money, I think, but I'm not going to get $90,000 from him. But I'm sure that he's in Quebec. He'll be our first Quebec donor, maybe our only one. But most of the money has been generated in London because it's a London prize. It's going to be a monument that is worthy of all of our support. So I hope you'll think about it. If you'd like to see me afterwards, or just give me your email and I'll send you some information about the monument, then Sean and I and our committee would be happy to share that with you. So I need to thank City Council for being so supportive. And now we need to take it the rest of the way. And we have a short time to do it. And if you're able to help us, God bless you. If not, God bless you anyway. And thank you for giving us some attention. And any help you can provide is so sincerely and gratefully acknowledged. Now it's my pleasure, as the second part of my duties, to introduce you to a young man, Alex Wilson. Alex is a guest of Deputy Mayor Sean Lewis. He's a grade 11 student at Clark Secondary School. And what a tremendous young man. He has a lot of interests in sports and math. By the way, I asked him his claim to fame. This is an education comment, Paul. His average is 95%. So he's pretty boring. But on the other hand, he's a great volunteer and is very engaged. And he wants to talk to you about the European trip that he is embarking on, where he'll go to Normandy, he'll visit Vimy, and just like the Byron Spring Bank Veterans Monument, just needs a little bit of help. Ladies and gentlemen, to the stage, please help me welcome Alex Wilson.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex Wilson. I'm a grade 11 student at Clark Road Secondary School, and I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak to you today. I'm here to talk about a trip I've been selected to go on called Vimy 110 Remembrance Trip. It's a 9-day educational tour taking place from April 2nd to April 10th, 2027. And we will be visiting France and...
I'm on the board too of the Macdonald Cartier Club. I share some of the same Cape Breton roots as Ed, but I'm not nearly as loquacious. So my job today is just to thank everyone that presented today, Minister Calandra, Minister Flack for attending. It was well attended, it was a great meeting. So thanks very much. Hope everyone enjoyed their time, and we'll see you at the next Macdonald Cartier.